Great to see you last week on Friday. Just wanted to cover a couple of things that we talked about in our lesson. So looking back on what we've done previously and keeping track and tabs upon progress, we hadn't really made enough progress with the last Matt Kuchar feel flat backswing. There wasn't really much change at all. So let's work back and keep it a little more simple. So this week, this lesson, we made a focus on trying to change your setup position and trying to get your center of mass a lot more grounded. Now, in this video, these two videos here, we've already made the change, and you feel as though that your center of gravity is much more grounded here at the start. So in setup here, the focus was trying to get you feeling like the center of your mass, kind of at the top of your abdomen here, was much more squatted and lower to the ground. Now, looking at this, obviously your fairway wood's not as important to be squatted as compared to, say, a pitching wedge or a 9-iron. So pitching wedge or a 9-iron, we actually want a lower center of gravity and mass in comparison to what we want with a wood or a driver. Driver's the tallest, we send the tallest with driver and the most squatted with a full swing with pitching wedge. And then pitch shots still the same. Chip shots we actually stand a little bit taller again compared to what we are with a pitch shot or a full wedge shot. So here's pretty good. There's a couple of things though that I would like to make a little bit of a change to. That shaft of the club here needs to be more up through here in your belt line. So it needs to be, your arms need to be a little bit further out away from you, this way down to the ball. We didn't really discuss this in our lesson. You made, with this change you made, I'm pretty sure it felt good with the shorter clubs, but when we get to a longer club, it didn't feel quite as good. This is one of the reasons why. So we focused on the setup. We also had a focus on the takeaway, which was similar to what we've had Bev working on. This setup, though, we've talked about here now, if your club's down here is fine for a wedge shot, not so fine for a wood shot. So we want to try and get your hands out away from you a bit further here, have the ball further from you with a wood shot so you can actually swing more rounded. Now, you've got quite long limbs, like your arms are quite long, so that's going to match up more to a flat swing. So, and a flat arm swing is what we're talking about here. However, with a flat arm swing, we need to be very careful about the takeaway and not having the takeaway zip around the corner too much, which is exactly your MO. Your movement patterns are you tend to get the head of the club too low around the corner in the takeaway, and that gets the club rerouting and doing some other things at the top. Hence the reason why the club shaft gets crossed the line at the top. So in the takeaway, we want to try and see that club shaft work back on a more parallel angle. Now, in a perfect world, would actually have you, out this way a little bit more with that club shaft. Your arms out away from you a bit more here. That's in a perfect world how I'd like to see your wood setup. So if we look at this movement pattern as you move back here with this swing here now, we can see it actually working back, trying to work a lot up at the start. So straight away you're up into this position. That's too much lifting at the start. But the reason why it's lifting is because you're trying to get yourself back into a position where you can actually make a shot, hit a shot from, and that's because of setup. So because the setup's too low, it's too hard to do that motion. Now we'll go back to your pre-shot practices here. Okay. Now this practice waggle you've made here, when it moves back, it's moving back with the butt of the club needs to be pointing back at your midline for longer. We can see with this waggle, it's still pointing out and down the target line here too early. So that shaft has turned away from the ball too soon. So yet again, the left panel. So that the Y here isn't the same as what you started with. I know that the angle's changed, everything's turned a little bit, but that shaft has actually crossed quite a lot there. That's where it should be at this point. So you want to have that shaft pointing more back at your midline. Now, this is only small details. However, every amount that you rotate that shaft too early in the takeaway is the same amount where it needs to recalibrate and reposition further back in your backswing. Hence, the club will tend to go to that point plus beyond, and that's why we get that look at the top of the backswing where the club shaft is trying to cross the line. You can see it here. In a perfect world, we'd be stopping about there, but we've got another 3 or 4 frames where it actually keeps on crossing. Now this is actually an improvement with this golf swing here. This is actually better. Throughout the swing, we're trying to get you to keep yourself and your center of mass constant and a little more down. So I like what your angles are here with your body. If we get that club shaft up here pointing towards your belt line with this club, you'd have to stand a bit further back from the ball to achieve this. Then it's going to be easy for you to get that shaft back into a position that it should be in the backswing, and on the way back down, it'd be much easier to get it back into a position. Now, I imagine you've probably had a weekend of golf where you've been hitting some average shots with your woods, and probably pretty good and solid with your shorter irons. So that's because of this position here. So we didn't talk enough about this on Friday, so I just wanted to cover that with you today. Good luck, Tom. Thanks for coming down, and I hope you have some progress with this lesson. I think that you should be moving forwards with this, and yet again, major focus is body position, center of mass lower to the ground, and then the takeaway, and also the takeaway, the shaft of the club pointing more back toward your midline until you get back past your right leg. Then it can start rotating rather than rotating too early. Good luck.